Good evening, students. Welcome to Oliveboard. I'm your faculty Rahul Yaduka, and as usual, it's Wednesday, and we are going to start our fourth session in this row, which deals with two purposes. One is revision of weekly current affairs, and second is to formulate certain questions on them and to see how we can attempt those answers. Right. So before we proceed, can you just let me know if everything is fine, audible, visible, clarity of voice, etc.? Then we can go ahead. All right. So let's start. I again welcome all of you students that you have joined these live sessions on YouTube. And as you can look at the front slide, it is about RBI Grade B in particular and other regulatory exams in general. And what are we trying to do? We are going to cover the most important news of the last week and formulate certain questions on them. And let's also explore side by side how we can possibly decode the demand of the question, how we can organize different parts of your answer, how to better present the content that you are going to write in the examination, and how to make sure that you stick to the demand, don't go astray. So many things are there we are constantly discussing, and we plan to continue this, right? So again, before we move ahead, it's the usual explanation of what we are going to offer in this series or what the viewers can expect us to offer. First of all, it is self-evident that these are live video batches. Second, we claim that we are going to comprehensively cover the syllabus and how we are going to do it. If you can just go and look at the playlist of this particular series, you will see that in each session, we are going to have three questions and we are going to take such topics which are comprehensive in nature, and at this rate we are going to make sure that we touch upon important dimensions of economic and social issues and other current affairs. So you will see that we have questions on environment, which is very important topic for the exam. Second, we have certain questions on banking, economy, financial sector, international trade, so on and so forth. So this is about syllabus coverage. Third, doubt clearing by experts. So I won't use the word expert. We are all studying together, discussing things. And how we are going to do it? Doubt clearing is going to happen as you write your doubts in the chat box. You engage with the class. And as we discuss different topics, you can also add some more content on it. Deliberately, I keep the sessions low on content so that we can have a discussion, right? You can also have learning from peer group. For instance, right now we have Deepti and Bruce on this chat box. Others are also going to join in a while. So together you will see that some fellow aspirants have different more points to add. So it is your inquisitiveness that you can write more content from these chat box and from these slides itself, right? Preparation guidance is also going to be there side by side. You can anytime shoot certain queries that you have. It may be related to this particular session. It may be related to general strategy of preparation. I'll try my best to answer to and respond to your queries. And of course, whatever we do, the ultimate objective that we have to keep in mind is that we have to be remain centered on the demand of the examination. At times, I have seen that student expand the discussion in the chat box. It's very good that you are studying well, revising the content, but as a guide, my job is to make sure that you don't go beyond the domain of the examination. Every preparation, every examination has a scope, and it is very crucial to remain within that scope. Otherwise, we have different examination at different levels. We have State Services Commission, we have UPSC civil services, and other examinations also. So depending on your flavor, depending on your level of preparation, your interest, you can attempt different examination. But the mool mantra of any preparation should be exam centeredness. You should be very clear with what you are going to expect in the demand of the question, and accordingly you should prepare the content. Right? So I hope these preliminary remarks are very clear to all of us. Before we get on the discussion, this is a small announcement that a mega booster sale is going on, and today is 23rd. So for next 2 days, you can avail this opportunity. You can get registered in these three courses: SEBI Grade A 2023 plan, RBI Grade B 2023 plan, and of course, a mentorship batch is there specifically. So these are the descriptions. You can go to the website of Oliveboard. You can avail 35% discount before 25th or till 25th, and you can use the code BOOST to avail it. Right. So let's go on with economic and social issues of the week. So the first question that is very crucial is Climate Change Performance Index 2023. Right. So I have deliberately formulated a wide and a broader question so that we can discuss more content and then we can stick to the specific explicit demand of the question. So you can have a question like, what do you mean by climate change? First part. And second, use relevant indicators to comment on India's commitment to dealing with climate change. So as you can see, first demand is very clear, outright, upfront. What is meant by climate change? So very simply, in 30-40 words, you are going to write what is climate change. We have been discussing it all this while. So you will write climate change is a global phenomenon, first of all, which is being observed after 1950s, after there was a boost in industrialization across the globe, after political independence of so many countries, decolonization was there, and you write what it specifically is about. It is about a perceptible, definite, and quantifiably measured change in climate, measured in terms of precipitation or temperature change. And the benchmark is 1750, from which there is an expected limit that we should cap the deviation in average temperature up to 1.5 degrees Celsius. What was there in 1750s plus 1.5 degrees Celsius. If it goes beyond that, there will be a lot of problems like melting of polar ice caps, too much absorption of heat by the earth, rise in sea level, deforestation is going to boost it, there is desertification, there is random changes in the pattern of monsoon, and once you get into the change of monsoon, a lot of cascading effects will be there on agriculture, economy, livelihood, migration. So many things are there. So you write a very consolidated kind of introduction about climate change in first header. And before you write anything, I expect you to put a heading introducing climate change or defining climate change, something like that. So that how does it help? Again, I'll reiterate what I've said. When you write a heading, the evaluator gets a clear sense what you are going to write where. Don't just haphazardly write, starting with discussion of this index, then writing in between somewhere climate change, then suddenly writing and then Kyoto Protocol. Don't do this. Write in a very structured manner. Write so that you can display that you have a organized content in mind. You have a flow in mind. This flow helps the reader. And once the reader is at ease with the reading of your answer, you will get good marks. This is very sure. This is basic psychology of any examiner. So help the examiner and get yourself helped. You can get help from the examination if you can help the examiner. This is a quid pro quo, simple relation. Don't make the task of evaluation tough for the examiner, right? So write about climate change, then come that India has committed to net zero emission in 2070 in COP26. COP we have discussed, Conference of Parties, annual congregation, different countries meet and enforce and reiterate their commitment to dealing with climate change. Then you come to, you can also touch upon INDCs, intended nationally determined contributions, right? Paris climate conference में आया था. उसके बाद you can write that once we have made a commitment, तो हमें कुछ perform भी तो करना होगा. This is not in the air that okay we are going to deal with climate change. What you are going to do, how you are going to measure what you do, how we are going to see that you have actually worked upon your commitments. So there is an idea of quantification. आपकी कुछ वेरिएबल्स होंगे जिसके आसपास हम आपके परफॉर्मेंस को इवेलुएट करेंगे, राइट? सो this is the index which is prepared by three non-governmental bodies. These words are very important. So you should be very clear, because in climate change struggle, there are countries also, there is UN also, there are some international bodies also, and there are some non-governmental bodies also, civil society groups. So this is an index jointly prepared by Greenwatch, New Climate Institute, and CAN International, that is Climate Action Network International. Now, I as an evaluator would expect that you name these agencies. This is very important. Why? You can have a broad discussion also, but as much fact you can add, relevant fact. Don't add unnecessary facts. These are relevant facts. You add the name. कि कौन सी बॉडीज हैं जो ये ग्रुप को बनाती हैं, कौन सी तीन बॉडीज ग्रुप में हैं जो इंडेक्स को प्रिपेयर करती हैं, ठीक है? नाउ कम टू दिस, दैट देयर आर 59 countries plus European Union. In European Union, there are various countries. So they together negotiate at any platform. So you don't name them separately. You simply write European Union. That implies all countries that constitute European Union. So together these countries are there, जिनके बीच ये index rank करता है countries को, right? So India in 63 players में 8th position पे है. India ने improve किया है अपना ranking, ठीक है? Now, any index we have discussed earlier, we have discussed multidimensional, let's say poverty index, right? Or we have discussed GDP. So, what goes into that index? How do we arrive at that index? So, उसमें आप क्या measure करते हैं? In this particular index, you measure four things. Again, this is very important as a fact. You should write in bullet points. Greenhouse gas emission कितना है आपका? Renewable energy में आप क्या invest कर रहे हैं? कैसा performance है? एनर्जी यूज का पैटर्न क्या है आपका, आप कितना फॉसिल से लेते हैं, कितना नॉन कन्वेंशनल सोर्सेज से लेते हैं, और क्लाइमेट पॉलिसी की दिशा में आप क्या कर रहे हैं. सो दिस अ ब्रॉड rubric according to which your performance is evaluated, right? So this is broadly that you should bring into your answer, right? You can also add some other indicators if you wish. It is again coming back to our earlier discussion, not explicit demand of the question. What is explicit? You define climate change and you talk about this index. What is implicit? जो छुपा हुआ है, जो डायरेक्ट नहीं पूछा गया है, जो एक्सपेक्टेड है, ठीक है, लेकिन मैंडेटरी नहीं है. इम्प्लिसिट डिमांड जो होता है वो आप लिख भी सकते हैं, नहीं लिखेंगे तो कोई खास पेनल्टी नहीं है, लिखेंगे तो अच्छी बात है. So you have to see, if you have words, you have time, space, you can write that there are other indicators which rank the country. एक अप्रोच वो है कंक्लूजन का. दूसरा अप्रोच क्या हो सकता है लास्ट में? You can also point out certain shortcomings and suggest some way forward. That's also a good idea to conclude. That you write, despite India's improving performance in this index, there is a lot of things that need to be done. Then you can write that अभी भी इतना डिपेंडेंस है हमारा, या हमें और इन्वेस्ट करने की जरूरत है ग्रीन एनर्जी में, या हमें जो जर्मनी के साथ डील चल रहे हैं टेक्नोलॉजी ट्रांसफर को लेके उसको एक्सपेडिट करने की जरूरत है. रूरल इंडिया में अभी भी फॉसिल और फॉडर का कंजप्शन बहुत ज्यादा है जो फायरवुड का है. सो इस तरह की कुछ फ्यूचरिस्टिक कंक्लूजन आप लिख सकते हैं, तो उससे एक राउंड शेप मिल जाता है आपके आंसर को. सो दिस इज व्हाट आई एक्सपेक्ट टू डिस्कस इन दिस क्वेश्चन. एनी कमेंट्स फ्रॉम योर साइड? I'll pause for a while. Any comments, any queries, anything you want to say on this topic? Can we move ahead? All right. So next topic is National Anti-Profiteering Authority. National Anti-Profiteering Authority. Right? So what is this? That's a straight demand. Explain the role of NAA, or what do you understand by AAA, NAA, and then what? Why is it being subsumed under CCI, Competition Commission of India? Now, this question is not a broad question. This is very specific. If somebody has missed this current affairs revision, they cannot answer this. आपको पता होना चाहिए. Awareness is important. Exposure to this topic is important. So कभी कभी ऐसे questions भी आते हैं. For instance, last questions. Even if you have not read this, you can at least address half of the question. What is climate change, or what is India's commitment to climate change? आप कुछ ना कुछ लिख सकते हैं. But these kind of questions are very direct question. Explain the role of NAA and why is it being subsumed under CCI. So आपको पता होना चाहिए कि NAA क्या है. So as the name itself suggests, it's National Anti-Profiteering Authority. Now when did it come into existence? You know that Modi government has finally negotiated with different states about GST, goods and service tax. Now why I'm using finally negotiated? Because ऐसा नहीं है that it was initiative of this NDA 2 or NDA 1. It was into discussion for decades. जब से कांग्रेस की सरकार थी, यूपीए गवर्नमेंट, it was there in the discussion. So 2017 में फाइनली जाकर के सेंट्रल गुड्स एंड सर्विस टैक्स एक्ट आया, in which there are various sections obviously, and under section 171 there is a provision of having a watchdog. Watchdog क्या करता है? जैसे कुत्ता घर की रखवाली करता है, निगरानी करता है, सर्विलियंस करता है, मॉनिटर करता है, उसी तरह से हमें एक बॉडी की जरूरत थी, NAA, National Anti-Profiteering Authority. Why? Because earlier, when I say earlier, I mean prior to this GST negotiation, we had a plethora of taxes, and one of the arguments given by the proponents of GST was this, that there are a lot of clumsy tax and there is a clumsiness in the tax environment. So let's simplify it. Let's simplify it. Let's make the paperwork easier. Let us just have a couple of taxes so that tax compliance can be increased. ठीक है? And government can also monitor tax avoidance and tax people who are not going to pay tax and increase the tax base so that net revenue increases. So इसके लिए आपने ये बनाया, फिर watchdog बनाया जो इस बात को देखे that if there is some kind of tax rate deduction. So the expectation was that if there is reduction in the tax rate, it should ultimately trickle down or percolate to the customer. और खास करके FMCGs, fast moving consumer goods, eateries, restaurants, cinema halls, entertainment industries, बहुत सारे बार आप देखते होंगे that there is a tussle going on between federal states and central government about the tax rates. और निर्मला सीतारमन को प्रेशराइज कर रहे हैं that there is a lot of tax spending on the side of central government, pay us our share. ठीक है, कोरोना काल में भी ये चीज हुई थी. तो इस वजह से क्या होता है that a lot of tax changes have been there, so that track had been lost. इतने सारे टैक्स के फ्लिप फ्लॉप हुए हैं, बढ़ाना घटाना, because these are subject to political pressure also. लोग रिवोल्ट करेंगे कि इस चीज में टैक्स बहुत बढ़ रहा है, खाने पीने की चीजों में मत बढ़ाइए, आम आदमी प्रभावित होता है. सो इसको मद्देनजर रखते हुए वी आर अ डेमोक्रेटिक कंट्री, सो गवर्नमेंट हैज टू लिसन टू अस, चेंज द टैक्स रेट्स. सो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन दिस एंटायर फ्लिप फ्लॉप, that sometimes when tax rate is reduced, it does not ultimately, the benefit ultimately does not reach to the customer. अब हम रेस्टोरेंट जाते हैं, वहां पर टैक्स रेट कट हुआ, तो गवर्नमेंट को जो वो लोग पे कर रहे हैं, रेस्टोरेंट के मालिक, वो तो कम पे कर रहे हैं, लेकिन कस्टमर से उतना ही चार्ज कर रहे हैं. आप समझ रहे हैं वो गैप कहां पे आता है? तो इसको ही ठीक करने के लिए, देखने के लिए NAA की जरूरत थी, जो बनाया गया था. बट देयर इज अ साइड बाय साइड अनदर डिबेट जो पिछले 2 3 4 5 सालों से चल रहा है, दैट वी नीड अ सिंगल रेगुलेटर. देयर इज अ प्लेथोरा ऑफ रेगुलेटर, मल्टीप्लिसिटी ऑफ रेगुलेटर. इंश्योरेंस मार्केट के अलग रेगुलेटर है, कैपिटल मार्केट के लिए अलग रेगुलेटर है, बैंक्स के लिए अलग रेगुलेटर है. सो रेगुलेटर्स को रेगुलेट कौन करे? इतने सारे रेगुलेटर्स ढंग से परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं, हु इज गोइंग टू सी देम? सो इस वजह से इसको क्या किया गया है, सीसीआई के अंदर एब्जॉर्ब कर लिया गया है, सब्ज्यूम कर लिया गया है। व्हेन वी से सब्ज्यूम, इसका मतलब ये है कि इसके फंक्शंस अब सीसीआई के अंदर कोई प्ले करेगा। ये खत्म नहीं हो गया है, इसका काम खत्म नहीं हो गया है, ठीक है। नेशनल एंटी प्रॉफिटियरिंग अथॉरिटी, वट एवर टास्क इट हैड टू डिलीवर, नाउ इट विल बी डन बाय some wing of CCI, Competition Commission of India. Now, you read about CCI, I hope you know. So, can somebody briefly tell others what is CCI? Basic work of CCI? Just write in the chat box. Competition Commission of India. Okay, so Bruce is writing that it's a statutory body which takes care of whether there is malpractice or a monopoly of an entity is going to in a business or not. And Sakshi is writing it approves merger takeover of companies. For instance, HDFC acquired ITA parent co HDFC. All right. So yeah, it's basically about ensuring the healthy competition in the market. So how does healthy competition continue in the market? Monopolization की tendency तो नहीं है. एक term use होता है that somebody is disrupting the market, right? So selling at a very low price is also disruption in the market, right? कुछ इस तरह के unfair practices करना जिससे बाकी players eliminate हो जाएं, market forces में monopoly हो जाए किसी की और competition ठीक से ना चल पाए. So all these things are there which create distortions in the market, and this is about Competition Commission of India, right? So इसके अंदर now anti profiteering authority is going to be subsumed. Right? So let's have a look at the third question. Global Shield Climate Funding. Global Shield Climate Funding. All right, no problem. You can just cross check. It's fine. So Global Shield Climate Funding. What do you mean by Global Shield Climate Funding? Again, you can guess that it is something about climate financing, climate change is there, and you also aware that there are commitments from different countries that they are going to help lower or least developed countries to make sure that they cut on carbon emissions. But it's a recent initiative, Global Shield Climate Funding. Now, it's a very straightforward question. What is meant by this? So, you know that Conference of Parties goes on. In Egypt, November 2022, in last week, we had in Egypt, Sharm el Sheikh climate change conference was there, and where this idea came up. But before I go into this particular discussion, I just want to quickly revise where this idea of climate funding come from. Why should rich countries help the climate vulnerable economies, or rather underdeveloped economies, to deal with climate change? Why everybody cannot manage their own affairs? So there are two concepts which are very important. You can have a look at the slide, last 2 points: CBDR and HR, common but differentiated responsibility and historical responsibility. Now you know from the history that primarily and in the starting phase, industrial revolution took place in England and other Western European countries. Afterwards, America also joined. So it is empirically established with data that the condition in which we are presently is not created immediately or by newly developing countries, because they were colonized earlier. Whatever industrialization India could take up, it has been in post independence India, right? So the colonizers are there. Yeah. So you know that colonizers were there, they were undertaking a lot of industrialization. So इस वजह से क्या है that there is an agreement overall at the global level, or global consensus is there, that every country is affected because of climate change, but not every country is equally responsible for climate change. क्लाइमेट चेंज अब आ गया, सो आप ऐसा नहीं कर सकते कि अमेरिका के आसमान में जो CO2 रिलीज होता है, इट विल रिमेन कन्फाइंड टू दैट इन्वायरमेंट, इट विल स्प्रेड. अगर अमेरिका के लोग ओजोन डिप्लेशन के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल हैं, बहुत ज्यादा CFC रिलीज करते हैं, तो ऐसा नहीं होगा कि जब ओजोन में डिप्लेशन आएगा तो जो वहां से अल्ट्रावायलेट रे आएंगे वो अमेरिका के पास जाएंगे. इट विल अफेक्ट ग्लोबली. So that hence it is called global common. Everybody is to fight it jointly. But we can also not ignore that there is a differentiated responsibility. सबकी बराबर की जिम्मेदारी नहीं हो सकती. It is climate injustice. अगर हम सबको कहें कि आप बराबर कंट्रीब्यूट करें, तो इसका मतलब ये होगा कि बिगाड़ने कोई और आया था और आप संभालने के लिए सबको मिलकर कह रहे हैं. एक तो बात वो है. दूसरी, historical responsibility is there. They have historically damaged the environment more, so they should pay more. And third, why this? Why it is seen as a cost? Climate change को रोकना एक cost की तरह क्यों है? Why? Because you know that the larger amount of industrialization today also of India also is dependent on consumption of carbon based fossil fuel. अब उसको जब आप जलाएंगे तो क्लाइमेट चेंज होना ही है, और ज्यादा आप ग्रीन हाउस गैस ऐड करेंगे. सो इंदिरा गांधी ने एक बार कहा था, पॉवर्टी इज द बिगेस्ट पॉल्यूटर. क्योंकि अगर हमें पॉवर्टी हटानी है, सो वी हैव टू अंडरटेक डेवलपमेंट ऑफ इकोनॉमी. और अभी जो मोटा मोटा मॉडल ऑफ डेवलपमेंट है, दैट इज बेस्ड ऑन इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन एंड कंजम्पशन ऑफ फॉसिल फ्यूल. सो एक तरह से अगर हम ये कहते हैं कि आप कंजम्पशन ऑफ फॉसिल फ्यूल को रोकिए, इसका मतलब ये भी हो जाता है कि आप डेवलपमेंट को रोकिए. इसका मतलब आप पॉवर्टी को मेंटेन रहने दीजिए. Hence, it is seen as a cost. I hope this is clear. So, इस पूरे माहौल में consensus बना that richer countries have taken more benefit of climate change or industrialization, so they should pay for it. So, coming back to this global shield climate funding, it has been sponsored by G7. I expect that you know which countries are there in G7. So, why don't we write in the chat box? What are the member countries of G7? Please write fast. So I think you guys don't remember, or there is some time lag between what I'm saying and what you are listening. So no problem. Check it out. Who are sponsors of G7 and this climate funding? So these are the financiers who is going to receive a very new idea is their V20 group of 58 climate vulnerable economies. Now, why this? There is a word vulnerable because because of geographical formations, each country is not equally affected by climate change. जो हमारे आइलैंड ग्रुप्स हैं छोटे छोटे, इंडोनेशिया, लो लाइंग एरियाज ऑफ बांग्लादेश, कोस्टल इंडिया, ये कंट्रीज जो है दे आर मोर वल्नरेबल. थोड़ा भी अगर इजाफा होता है सी लेवल में, सो देयर होल सब कॉन्टिनेंट और कॉन्टिनेंट इज गोइंग टू बी सबमर्ज्ड. सो ऐसे 58 कंट्रीज को आइडेंटिफाई करके V20 ग्रुप बनाया गया. और कुछ कंट्रीज ऐसे भी है जहां हमें क्लाइमेट डिजास्टर देखने को मिल रहे हैं. You know that there is more frequent urban flooding, flash floods are there, cloud bursts are there, desertification is increasing. So you can say that these are normal geographical phenomena, no problem. But climate change is accelerating these processes. So kahin na kahin there is a dependence of climate change in disasters also. So the term climate disaster is there. सो रिसेंटली साइक्लोन्स बहुत इंटेंसिफाई हो रहे हैं, बहुत एब्रप्टली आ रहे हैं, बहुत ज्यादा आ रहे हैं. और उनके साथ जब साइक्लोन्स आते हैं तो रेनिंग होता है. रेनिंग का इम्पैक्ट आपके अर्बन लाइफ पे पड़ता है. हमारा अर्बन लाइफ कैसा है वो आप जानते हैं. ड्रेनेज की क्या सुविधा है ना. प्लास्टिक वेस्ट जनरेशन है, सॉलिड वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट है. उसकी वजह से चोकिंग हो जाता है और वल्नरेबिलिटी बढ़ जाती है. सो प्राइमा फेसी अभी क्या है, कुछ कंट्रीज को पहले दिया गया है पायलट प्रोजेक्ट में. सो पाकिस्तान, घाना और बांग्लादेश पहले इनको दिया जाएगा, ठीक है. सो इसके बाद इनको देखा जा रहा है कि कैसे इस फंडिंग को बढ़ाया जा सके. सो व्हेन इट कम्स टू राइट अबाउट ग्लोबल शील्ड क्लाइमेट फंडिंग, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल डोंट स्टार्ट राइटिंग अबाउट इट. फर्स्ट एक्सप्लेन इन 30-40 वर्ड्स why there is a component or an understanding or a global consensus that relatively developed countries should finance climate change. जो उनके लड़ने का कोशिश है उसको फाइनेंस क्यों करेंगे वो. तो थोड़ा सा यू टच अपॉन कॉमन बट डिफरेंशिएटेड रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी एंड हिस्टोरिकल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. Afterwards, you can also touch upon a couple of earlier initiatives under Kyoto Protocol. We had Annexure 1, Annexure 2, Annexure 3 countries. So write that under Kyoto Protocol also, not everybody was expected to fight climate change. So that you establish this idea of CBTR. Then you come to this कि टेक्नोलॉजी ट्रांसफर करना है, जॉइंट इम्प्लीमेंटेशन है, कार्बन ट्रेडिंग है, और तमाम तरह की इनिशिएटिव्स पहले भी हैं. और लास्ट में जाके आप लिखेंगे व्हाट इज स्पेसिफिकली दिस इनिशिएटिव स्पॉन्सर्ड बाय G7 फॉर V20 of 58 climate vulnerable economies, who are the first recipients of it, where it was announced. ये चार मेजर कंपोनेंट्स आपके आंसर में होने चाहिए. एट द एंड व्हाट यू कैन राइट, अगेन इम्प्लिसिट डिमांड, जो पूछा नहीं गया लेकिन आप लिख सकते हैं. जब भी इस तरह के बड़े प्रोमिसेस होते हैं, दुनिया दो भागों में बट जाती है, जो प्रॉमिस कर रहे हैं और जिनके लिए प्रॉमिस हो रहा है. सो जिनके लिए प्रॉमिस होता है, यू कैन राइट देयर आर एप्रीहेंशंस इन दोस कंट्रीज कि इसके क्या फायदे होंगे या कोई खास फायदा नहीं होने वाला है. सो ऑलरेडी दीज वॉइसेस आर देयर दैट दिस इज येट अनदर गिमिक ऑफ द वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड. They should focus on more concrete planning. They should let us know how exactly they are going to finance us. So when you read the current affairs, you should also make sure कि वो लोग क्या कह रहे हैं. What are those countries saying for which this funding is coming, right? Then you write a forward-looking conclusion or a positive, optimistic kind of ending that these three things should also be done if countries are really serious about fighting climate change. So then you will give a historical backdrop, current discussion, and a futuristic conclusion. So as more and more you can practice when brainstorming on certain question or trying to write the answer, then only you will develop this ability. Because in examination you are going to expose from the question fast and you have to quickly start writing. So this attitude of structuring the answer you have to cultivate with time. And that is the purpose of having these sessions. So again, closing the session with this again, this booster sale is there. I have said 2 दिन के अंदर अगर आप लेते हैं, you are going to get 35% of discount. Use the code BOOST. So Yeah, we also have this dedicated app and a YouTube channel. This YouTube channel on which we are having these sessions. This is dedicated to regulatory examination from Oliveboard. You have a separate app also that will facilitate and streamline your preparation. You are going to focus only on RBI, Nabard, and SEBI. So this is it from my end. Thank you, everybody. We'll meet each other another again on Wednesday, 8 p.m. or mostly 8 p.m. only. Today we met at 7 p.m. I hope you are enjoying these sessions, you are benefiting from these sessions. If you have any suggestions, any queries, chat box is only always open. If after live chat is deleted, you can generally comment. I keep looking at these chats. I'll respond to your queries, and any improvisations or any specific thing that you want me to discuss, or your general feedback on these sessions, how are you liking these sessions, that would definitely encourage me and help me a lot. Also, I would recommend all of you to share these sessions with your friends on Telegram group or WhatsApp group, wherever you can, so that more and more people can benefit. And if you share it, it will also benefit you because more people will join the discussions. For instance, today we only saw Sakshi and Bruce participating. We had Deepthi also, but she did not participate much. So thank you, Bruce and Sakshi, for joining in the discussion. And ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों को आप share करें. It will benefit all of us. So I'll end here. So I'll wait for 30 seconds if you have anything to write, any comments, suggestions, remarks. Thank you. All right, Bruce. I register your point. We can have a discussion on some government schemes in the next session. No problem. ठीक है. Thank you so much. It was nice meeting you